All right, let's talk about something that's totally changing the game behind the scenes, fog computing. Now, I know you've heard of the cloud, right? But what if you could take all that power and bring it way, way closer to home? That's what we're diving into today. Just think for a second about all the devices in your life. Your smartwatch, your car, the traffic lights you drive past, they are all constantly talking, generating just mountains of information. This whole thing is the Internet of Things. And honestly, it's creating a kind of data tsunami. So, where's all that data supposed to go? To really get why fog computing is such a big deal, we first need to wrap our heads around the problem it's trying to solve. And trust me, it's a huge one. Yeah, we're not talking about a few emails here and there. This is a constant, nonstop flood of raw data from billions, with a B, of devices. And trying to send every last bit of that information up to some faraway server, it just creates this massive traffic jam on the information superhighway. It's just not fast enough for the kinds of things we need to do today. So, for a long time, the answer was the cloud. And don't get me wrong, the cloud has been absolutely revolutionary. It's this incredible network of powerful servers that handles all the heavy lifting. But there's a catch. The physical distance between your device and that cloud server creates a delay. It's called latency, or lag. And for anything that needs to happen instantly, that lag is a massive, massive problem. And that exact problem, that bottleneck, is why a whole new way of thinking was born. So it's time to meet fog computing. So what is it exactly? Well, instead of sending absolutely everything on a long trip to the cloud, fog computing sets up a sort of middleman. It's a layer of computing power that lives right there in your local area, kind of like a local command center between all your gadgets and the main cloud. And the name fog is actually the perfect way to think about it. It's not a replacement for the cloud. Just like real fog is basically a cloud that's down here on the ground, fog computing is a cloud that's sitting right where the action is, right near all the devices. The whole game is about location, location, location. And listen, this isn't just some random buzzword. This is a serious concept. Cisco came up with the term way back in 2012. A few years later, you had all the heavy hitters. We're talking Dell, Intel, Microsoft, forming a group to make it a real standard. By 2018, it was official enough to get its own conceptual model from the US government. So yeah, this has some serious momentum. Okay, so we know it's different, but let's really break it down. What really separates fog from the cloud? It really boils down to three key things. With the cloud, everything is centralized and far away from you, which gives you high latency. That's the delay we were talking about. Fog computing just flips that completely. It's distributed all over the place, it's near you, and that's how it gets that super fast, low latency response we need. Now, you've probably also heard the term edge computing. And I'll be honest, this is where things can get a little fuzzy. Even the experts are still hammering out the exact definitions. But here's a pretty good way to think about it. Edge is the computing that happens on the device itself, like on your phone. Fog is the network that connects all those edge devices together, letting them talk and coordinate before anything has to go all the way to the cloud. Okay, that's enough theory. This stuff sounds great, but where is it actually being used? Let's look at some real-world examples where fog computing is already a total game changer. So the benefits really come down to three main things. First, you get speed. Because the thinking happens locally, you get almost instant responses. Second, it's way more efficient. You're not trying to shove tons and tons of data through the internet pipes. And third, it can be more secure, because really sensitive data can be handled right there without ever leaving your local area network. And these benefits have some pretty incredible real-world applications. Check this out. The US Navy is using fog principles for drone swarms. Now, what happens if those drones lose their internet connection back to base? Well, with fog computing, the drones in the swarm can still talk to each other, make decisions, and complete their mission all on their own. That's a level of smarts and resilience that the cloud just can't offer by itself. Or think about something a little closer to home, like healthcare. If someone is wearing a monitor that detects a fall, you need an alert to go out immediately. You can't afford the delay of sending that data all the way to a cloud server and back. Fog computing lets that critical data get processed instantly, right there in the home, which could literally be the difference between life and death. So, where is all this heading? What does this mean for the future as our world gets smarter and more connected every single day? This quote really says it all. Fog isn't here to kill the cloud. They're not rivals. They're partners. The fog handles all the quick, time-sensitive stuff down here on the ground, and the cloud handles all the heavy-duty, long-term analysis. They're two sides of the same coin, and they work together perfectly. And that kind of leaves us with this really interesting thought to chew on. As we move towards things like self-driving cars and truly smart cities, the ability to think and react in real time locally is going to be everything. So while the cloud might always be the big, powerful brain, you could say the fog is becoming the planet's central nervous system. The real question is, what happens when that nervous system is fully built? How is that going to change everything?